my style, you gotta level up. I know you wanna be me, but you gotta level up. If niggas be acting like bitches, then tell them to man up. If bitches be talking about me, tell them to shut up.
In this video, I'll show you how to work with color management in Blender using ACES. I will also talk about the advantages of ACES and why we need it in Blender. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. Well, first of all, we need to download ACES 1.2, and if you're looking for a link, it's in the description. This will take some time because it has multiple color spaces. If you need ACES with filtered color spaces, I have a link to that in the description. It's free to download. Of course, you can donate to the developer, but you are not forced to do so. So do that at your own will. The file size is very small compared to ACES with a lot of color spaces. It's up to you to decide if having a lot of color spaces is more important or having that access to color spaces that you can use whenever you want to. Once the download is completed, extract the file somewhere in my documents. I will create a folder in there and call it ACES 1.2. The ACES that we are interested in is ACES 1.2. Well, I know ACES 1.3 is out there already, but it's not yet developed or organized for Blender. With that being said, locate config.ocio file in ACES 1.2 folder. Next step will be copying the location where this config file is located. And search environment, go to environment variable and create a new one. Give a variable name ocio, then paste the location. Put /config.ocio, then press OK. Our color space is now ready to be used in Blender. Open Blender. Go into color management, and your display device should now show ACES. And your view transform, you can change it to whatever. And your sequencer, you can also change it to whatever platform that you are trying to work in. The advantage with Blender 4.4 is now you can scroll through your ACES platforms. If ever you want to edit, delete, or modify your ACES color space, right-click and edit in Notepad. Modify the color space or delete the color space and press Save. And just like that, you have modified your color space. The first step is to render the video in ACES AP0 linear. For me, is to right-click, go into timelines and timeline settings, go into color, ACES, and I set ACES 1.2 because I'm going to be using it in Blender. And for my output transform, I set it to Rec 709 because I'm using Rec 709 monitors. Using the color checker, I can do the white balance. And once that is done, I have to now work with exposure. Don't do any other colors. Just leave everything as it is. And when it comes to color wheels, I would suggest you use offset and gain alone. With an exception, you can use lift, but I wouldn't touch gamma. Because offset, gain, and lift doesn't change the linearity of the waveform, but gamma does. Now, you must remember we are in Rec 709 color space. We have to go back into ACES AP0 linear. And we can do that by just changing the output transform back to no output transform. Now set the in point and the out point for your clip. Once that is done, we can prepare to render. Give the location, and under your format, change it to EXR. Codec as RGB half. Your timeline resolution, leave it as it is, unless if your video is different from your timeline resolution. Set the frame rate and ensure that this is the same in Blender. In Blender, just ensure the color space is the same as the rendered output. So APA0 is ACES 2065-1. When this is done, you should see similarities between your footage in Blender and DaVinci Resolve. If you need beats for your music, merchandise, check out Salty Boy Beats, link in the description. The next step is to ensure that all textures and procedural materials are in ACES color space. I'm going to use HDR as an example here. So I chose this specific one because it's at night and you have these lights that will be overexposed if ever wrong color space is used. Observe the colors as I'm changing this to Utility Linear Rec 709. The other thing that is standing out is the colors of the seats. They are overly saturated because they are in the wrong color space. Changing the color space to Utility sRGB texture should fix the issue. But how do you know which color space to use? I've made this list. Whenever you are in doubt, for base color or emission and textures, Utility sRGB texture is good for that. For roughness, metalness, normals, etc., use Utility raw. For HDR, EXI environmental maps, Utility Linear sRGB or Rec 709, they will do the job. And for the remaining EXI ACES color textures, use their specified color space, or ACEScg normally works. Now we can jump to procedural materials. These are the colors that you put in Blender. These colors are not conforming to ACES color space. And we need to convert these colors to ACEScg. Copy RGB colors and paste them into this link. We're going to be converting from Utility sRGB texture to ACEScg. Now press Convert RGB Values. Once this is done, you can copy this into Blender. Now we can prepare to render out OpenEXR multi-layer files in ACEScg. Now for me, is to just set up the color space to ACES, and for my view transform, I will use Rec 709 because my monitors are Rec 709, by the way, from ASUS. I've set the layer for foreground and background and left other layers untouched. Now we can click render or Control F12 to render out the whole animation. Before we can composite in Fusion, we need a reference color checker in ACEScg. First of all, press Shift A and we go into Images or Image, Mesh Plane. If you're using older version of Blender, you will use Images Planes. And for those looking for this chart, the link is in the description. Just locate the chart. Currently, I'm using ACEScg chart. And this is X-Rite ColorChecker Classic. Import into Blender and just locate it where you want it to be. One advice will be increasing the roughness of this chart to 0.8 so that it doesn't reflect any other light. Render one image out and save it somewhere on your drive. Now we can composite two images together. Set up your CGI renders. The best and fastest method will be to install Reactor into DaVinci Resolve Fusion, but I don't have it, so I'll have to do this manually. In case you have a lot of videos, just install Reactor. There's a lot of videos online on how to install Reactor into DaVinci Resolve Fusion. Remember, I rendered out the videos at 50%, so basically this is going to be HD and then I can scale it up using a resize node. The next step is to take ACES into Rec 709 or whatever platform that you are trying to work with. just to ensure the colors match, I would also take Rec 709, use ACES 1.2 and convert it to Rec 709. You will see that this will not really change the colors of this Rec 709 footage. It is always a good idea to rename your nodes so that you can work with them easier next time, say for instance, after months or years of this project. Now we can import our reference image for both ACEScg as well as the video. And now we can add white balance. To add the nodes in Fusion, press Shift Space and search whatever node that you are looking for. At the reference of the white balance, I have ColorChecker video from X-Rite. Copy the white balance node to the video node and do the same for the CGI frames. We need to generate LUTs because Fusion is not good with color grading and color matching. I have a full video on how to generate a LUT and how to use a color checker to get your exposure, your colors, as well as your skin tones. And if you want a detail-to-detail video, please check out this video here. Using file LUT node, in Fusion, we can import LUTs that we made earlier on in color page. Tick pre-divide and post-multiply. Leave it as sRGB in color space. When this is done, both video as well as CGI should have the same saturation, colors, and exposure. Check both video as well as your CGI for 18% gray RGB values. This should match, if not be close to each other. From this point, you can adjust according to your scene. For me, I will adjust and you will see the output. CGI images are clear without a grain, and real video, it has a grain. So to sell out this, we have to add grain onto our CGI image. Use color channels to see how much grain is in red channels, green channels, as well as blue channels. If you notice the video, grain is normally in the darker areas compared to the lighter areas. So you can use spread under grain to control this. Refine everything to your taste. Here's my final CGI footage.
I know you envy my style, you gotta level up. I know you wanna be me, but you gotta level up. If niggas be acting like bitches, then tell them to man up. If bitches be talking about me, tell them to shut up.
If you made it this far, make sure you check out this video next. Hit the like button. See you later, alligators.
I know you wanna be me, but you gotta level up. If niggas be acting like bitches, then tell them to man up. If bitches be talking about me, tell them to shut up. Shut up. I'm Salam, been thinking ahead. These niggas be eating the bread. My flow be fly like a bird.